thinking we are going to go lower. We're kind of breaking down. A lot of liquidity here, gaps, fair value gaps. I'm kind of just tuning in, so I'm sort of missing my entry. Balance this up pretty well. 15-minute. Took a low, some buy side, swept that, kind of breaking below now, so entries are not maybe going to be super clean from here. We're in lunch hour too, so it's just not real promising, but fair value gap right here. Not really respecting it, kind of come up to it again, break it, so now let's go into here and look for some kind of entry. Yeah, it's ugly. Volume imbalance, fair value, not respecting. Got a volume imbalance right here. Fair value gap right in here. Like to see it come up in here. I think I'll enter in this fair value gap. Target these lows. Let's see. These are nice equal lows that I think we're gonna want to get to eventually. Lunch hour, like I said, not a good hour. And this new week opening gap from when this is probably like 3.6. This might be a while ago. Oh damn, yeah, it's an old one, but it's kind of been a pretty strong player. Volume balance right in there. camera to sell. Run these lows. I think we might get up into here a little more. Run this buy side here. It'll take the sell side here. Now we've just got some buy side we just built up. Right over the equilibrium, fair value, little volume balance traded to that. Volume and balance right in here. Run these lows yet? No, left them intact. That's definitely gonna, should get run, I guess I should say. Half a percent. Hopefully it hits this limit here. I really don't think it's gonna need to run these highs anytime soon, to be honest. Maybe it gets up into here. So the fair value gap it could get to. So it very briefly ran these highs. So, and we're selling from there. Right at equilibrium. Expect to see some consolidation in there. traded to this fair value gap a bit right here. Left this one open. Let's see. May take a futures trade as well if we can get up here. Oh, big rejection. A little fair value gap, come fill that. Go high, fuck. This fair value gap don't hold, then I might be looking for it to break this fair value gap here. Be a bull fair value gap in here, high, low. It's holding so far. I'd like to see it hold and go tag that and then come back down. Then this would act as resistance. This breaks down. I might watch this fair value gap to be mark that out, to be resistance and maybe take an entry there. A little more risky. Not a huge fan of it, but kind of just tuning in, so watching how price goes. That's a wick. Really could see it get up there. Consequent encroachment of this could be interesting. Let's see where that is. Maybe to about right there. This is a nice sell side too to take once we hit this. Shit. Could have been in something again. MES, and we'll trade a real or a mini. So I think I'll go one here. Oops, not there. Alright. Yeah, whatever. Just trade into that. If we can get there. Yeah, it's creating buy side to run here too, so I can rip through that, hit that fair value gap, and go take these lows. Nice equal lows, sell side. Fair value gaps holding. I mean, I could reverse this, or I could switch stances here too, depending on how we trade up in here. If I see this really get aggressive here and this kind of holds too well in here for my short, I'll take it off when we're before I even hit the stop. So kind of breaking down here. Small fair value gap in here. Again, this could come to consequent encroachment, which is about right here. What is this? It's just an array. I don't know, delete that. Actually, that's... Oh, fuck. So it took those lows, Rated below. Yeah, okay. Now I might check this fair value gap as an entry. I do think it wants to run these though, so prefer to see it run these. We'll see how it gets when it gets up there. But we are selling. Probably going for, what the fuck are these? This way, where are we at? This one can go. Is anything? Weak implied fair value gap below. So just broke a weekly implied fair value gap. Sell side here, 405.82, and a lot of sell side here. Problem is when I mark these out in these videos, I kind of forget what they are. I wanted to lead them after, but I'm gonna make that. Why did I not? Okay. Sell side, all throughout here. So I'm gonna probably hit this one. Sell side. Then run up, clear these highs. A little fair value gap that kind of was traded to, but not much. So I like that there, possibly. This little fair value gap, I'd like to see kind of where the entry is. So took the lows, got some equal highs right here. Guess I could have been a little aggressive on the stop, but I don't know. Or the limit, but this is good. It gives us more to see. I mean, getting back up there will be something though now. Low key a breaker here kind of, but might not even get there. I mean, this whole area is pretty balanced. That's the problem. I don't know. Might target these after lunch. Lower, let's see where we are on the 1 hour. Got that sell side there, and then this big gap too. So we'll have to see. I think eventually it's going to want to run this down here. 401.88, that low. I think we will break that. Maybe not today, but that would say this is the target. From this swing low to this high, equilibrium. So that low is under it. Get back into discount. What are we at? 31. Yeah, probably not. Fair value gap here so far on the 15. It's just turned 30, or just turned 31. So 11:31, 10:31, or 12:31 New York, 10:31 or 11:31 Central. All fucked up. So I don't. This could be not this whole range of a fair value gap. It's very close to these lows. If it takes these lows, I really don't know that I'm all that interested in something. And it took these lows here, created a high, swept that high, broke that down, and now we're just selling. So expect some kind of bounce after taking these lows though, depending on how low we go. Looks like we're going to get that one pretty soon. This low from the 31st, looks like that's on deck. Where do we want to save it? What is this side of the... So now, where would we... I'm going to mark this out. Actually, I don't want that. If this is a high, you'd expect to see some consolidation around 0.5. So this could be the low here. What did I... Goddamn. Okay, so what is this? So same here. That's the top. Expect to see some consolidation around here, which we did, and then this is the second area of consolidation. So it's kind of like when you're in here, this would be, and you don't have this whole area there yet. It's kind of projecting where this could end up being. So then if we have this, let's go from this high. This is also the daily high. So yeah, some consolidation in here. We're in discount though. I don't know. End of the day, honestly, I mean, short term, we're pretty close to that low here. So end of the day, it might want to run some of these and get up in premium. Big order block, mean threshold of this order block here, about right here. Right here is probably kind of where that green line is almost, which this green line is a fair value gap. Kind of see it here. This is a 5-minute, but this green, this is the top of a fair value gap. It's the bottom on a 15-minute, and it's right here. So we'll go to the 15 here. This fair value gap. So traded through it up balanced here yesterday, came down, threw it again, balanced this little fair value gap, this order block here, breaker from yesterday, jammed that yesterday, jammed the bottom half today, came down, took a low. So could see it go test the bottom of this fair value gap now. End of the day if it wants to. Traded up there. This is today, so opened at about the fair value gap, went up through it, hit that breaker, little order block here, then took off. So where am I? So it may want to trade up to this order block, which is the bottom of that 15-minute fair value gap now. It's got some nice buy side here, here, here. It has good buy side to run now. Get up in premium. And I don't know that we sell off after that today. I could see a gap down or honestly a gap up. I think we do get up here though, to be honest. Meaning I don't know that I want to enter here yet. I think we might be able to get a little bit from here back down into here. But I don't know that it will. Honestly, this is setting up to be a better long, I think. Because we have a lot of buy stops from the morning. Lunch is winding down. I can see some chop. And then I don't think it's going to tag this and then just sell, so I'm kind of out of that thesis. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there in case I want to move it, but let's see. Yeah, oops. Pull that down. So we are at 0.5, filled that fair value gap. Breaker here. Kind of bullish breaker, so breaker, fair value gap that we're in right now. Tap this 5-minute fair value gap from here. Also let's see if fair value gap offers some support. Yeah, I might go long, to be honest. I might go long. This is possibly a breaker. I mean, it kind of is, but also just taking lows. It's fair value gap appears to be supporting pretty well. Could reclaim this. This breaker is right where that fair value gap is, so watch this possibly as a breaker right here. So fair value gap here. Canceling that. Volume imbalance. Just getting shit set up here. These are fucking annoying. Targeting these eyes. Stop. Could go below here, but I mean, this is a breaker. I guess could try to low. I mean, I wouldn't want to see that happen. There's so many arrays to not break through. This is a breaker for one. That's kind of the last line of defense. Fair value gap that shouldn't be getting broken. Yeah, there's quite a bit. Let's see this. Just check this out. Kind of a nice breaker, to be honest. I mean, in times I think this would be a good breaker here. or not in times, but in a different structure, I think that would be. But right now, yeah, kind of in a discount, so sometimes just because it looks like a setup or a pattern, if you're just looking at a pattern of it, it really doesn't tell you much, and that's how you'll get tricked out a lot, or you'll get frustrated because you'll see these patterns form and they won't do what they're supposed to. But where it is in context and what's going on really matters. So you got to take that into account. You can't just see this as a breaker and take it, because I mean, we've just taken sell side, just taken. So we do have equal lows here, which I think we're going to want to get, but there's lunch is winding down. It's going to want to run stops from the morning session. So all these, I don't think we're going to run these. I mean, who knows, you could. You honestly could. But for a short little trade, I think we're going to run buy side. And we have this 15-minute fair value gap to get through first. So there's a lot to see, kind of where you could go. I mean, if it keeps running and it's getting to this aggressively, then yeah, maybe I'd consider 15 highs here. This is pretty balanced in this whole region, but I mean, that's liquidity up here too. So 1 hour, 5 minute, what are we on here? So breakers holding. You can see this low getting purged. Volume a little volume imbalance right here. Kind of holding it down, but not totally. Small order block right here. So you have an order block here. This fair value gap is not holding as well as it should. So that's signal 1. It's no bodies have closed through it yet though. This one could. You have fair value gap. This one didn't hold. Order block, or fair value gap 2. Maybe gonna hold. Who knows? We'll see. Oh no. So this fair value gap right here did not hold. Breaker, kind of not the greatest breaker, but it's technically a breaker. Low, high, lower low, broke through it right up to that 5-minute fair value gap, which rejected. So that's why I didn't enter here or anywhere in here, just because we were at a fair value gap. We have this breaker. I want to see how this area is holding. Like right now, this kind of volume imbalance is kind of rejected it a little bit. So obviously it has more to do down here. Whether that's taking these lows, maybe take the lows here, or those, I should mark it on this chart too, or these lows here that we have not yet taken, and we're close to, we got really close, we got down to here, so we got to here, very close to those lows. Those lows look really appetizing. I just want to see what it's going to do. I think these are probably a main target, which is kind of, we'll see, depending on what it does, it's either going to go run up into here, I believe, or we're going to go take those now, which we may be doing. I mean, you do have this as a breaker, kind of, so this may be the breaker. High, low, slight higher high, ram by stops. Midway point of this breaker right here, 0.5, came right up to it, and that's a pretty good entry. On different setting. I mean, I would have liked that setup. It was pretty good. You have you have the unicorn, you have the breaker with the fair value gap, came right into it. Didn't trade above the fair value gap, no wick through. Right to the 0.5 of the breaker. So, a breaker, can go. The breaker could trade. It could have traded up to the top of the breaker and still been good. But you want to see it hold the midway point of any order block or breaker. So, it's a pretty good breaker setup. And you could have taken this here for shit. If you traded his breaker, could have taken it to. Once it. Where would I have entered, honestly? Probably about midway of this range. Seeing how. If I wanted to take this breaker, I would have looked for it to come back up into this fair value gap and see how it reacted. Honestly, probably would have taken it in here, right at that 5-minute fair value gap. If it comes up into it, you're not expecting it to break through this former bull fair value gap that gets inverted, so comes back up to it. Probably have gone here once I see this. I'd either have been aggressive and limited it in here if I had more confluence. Like I said, I wasn't totally watching the market all day, so it honestly, just staring at the chart all day actually helps, because you're watching what it's doing the whole time, so you're knowing each level where it's strong, where it's weak, what it's kind of doing. If I didn't take it right at the 0.5, probably after we broke down here, made a low, came up to that fair value gap and rejected. Could have got about 1-to-1 there. Again, not a great entry. Now we took a low. Honestly, I just feel like we are going to at least want to run these highs. Volume imbalance this. I could see this volume imbalance actually being a target. And for me, it depends. Could we run these highs? Yeah. Could we run these highs? Yeah. Could we get up to this 15-minute fair value gap? Sure. But I would like to see how it reacts in here. So, and sometimes you can, if I want to be a little more aggressive, you can take an entry, not maybe now or here, but you can at least enter down here when you have good reason to believe it's going to at least run to here. Maybe it doesn't run your targets, but if your stop is tight, once you see how it plays up in here, like if I enter here with my stop here, or say even here, this is nothing, I'm not using this right now, but say I did stop here. Once it gets up in here, if it starts showing me signs that it's not strong, it's going to want to reject again, you can at least either move your stop up to break even, or just take it off, and then if it does run, you can just leave it on until it goes up here. But at least you're in. You're not waiting till here, it looks kind of good, not the greatest, but you're not real sure, so you take an entry and then it goes against you. Now you're you may end up being right, but now you're just in a bad position with, by the time it gets here, most likely a lot of areas that it can retrace to. So it took lows. If we can get up to here and then maybe a nice retracement back into somewhere in here, I might consider. Which I think we are going to go run those highs, so I think that's I'm going to cancel these before I end up shorting when I'm actually trying to go long here. Cancel. MES, so micros, minis. Again, you want to see how it trades through this fair value gap here. This fair value gap kind of offering support, volume imbalance. Now you see how it kind of moves through the chain? Like, for example, here. So this is from Tuesday, yeah. So I had this this 15-minute fair value gap marked out. Up here, this is was a 15? That's a 15. It's more clear on the 15. See on the 15, that's a fair value gap. So we break through this 15-minute fair value gap. That's already showing it's probably not going to want to run too high, and that lows are more so the target. Just it broke through this. It can get a bounce. It's because it's going to want to fill this eventually. But the target's definitely down here. So we break that, trade through it, run up to the 15-minute fair value gap, right back down to it. Bounce off it again. Again, balance, rebalance. So this is pretty balanced. Trade down, balance of 15. Come down, create about equal lows. Another sign that, and we're breaking bodies through this 15. Another sign that we're probably going to go lower. Up, down, nice order block, trades through. And we run that. So I don't even know what I was saying now, but so seeing how these, it can trade through, like this is a bull fair value gap, gets traded through, comes up, acts as resistance. So it can break through this, and this can eventually, sometimes it's got to go through it a few times, and then it goes to its target. These are just small little fractal pieces, I guess you could say, of this whole thing. So see how it, and it kind of all uses PD arrays at once. That's why sometimes it really just takes experience, which, I mean, I'm still learning every day too. But you can see how it comes up. This is a breaker, kind of ended up being a breaker. Took a low too, off the breaker. So fair value gap, holds for a second, up, breaks through. Comes down, tags it, takes a low. Now that we took a low, this fair value gap can get inverted momentarily because we've balanced it, taken the low. Now we have buy side up here. So it can go take this buy side all up here and come back. Just because it runs these buy side doesn't mean it's going to go ripping up to the highs of whatever a few days ago. It's not support and resistance, but there's a similar aspect to it once you learn how to think about it, because I guess it's really more so, I should say, rebalancing and balancing. Because these are fair value gaps where they have only been offered one way. So sometimes tapping into them works to go to get what you want. Like you come up to it, for example, in the 15-minute, you took the low, you tapped into it and you didn't need to trade through it and above it and use it a lot. It just taps in and then it goes to get what it really wants. You don't necessarily need to always be going through them and to them, but once you've gotten what you wanted, so say if this is think of this here, this is a bearish thing, but like a 15-minute, came up, tapped into it, then it got what it wanted. So now it can really go through this. Like eventually, this 15-minute fair value gap can get traded back through. But until it gets what it wants, it just needs to tap in there and go to where the intended liquidity was. Once you kind of get where you need to be and it wants to kind of reframe what that was, like that 15-minute fair value gap was just a point to sell, just to fill a little imbalance. Eventually it's going to go wanna, you'll notice a lot when you have them drawn out, which I'm bad at deleting them and I just have too many, they'll get traded through a lot. And they'll be used in different ways. They might, just because they break through it in one point doesn't mean it's going to stick or it's going to stay. Once it trades around it, say it gets up here, trades around it, balances it, or comes back to it. This is annoying. I gotta get this fuck out of here. Comes up, breaks through it, hits this, trades around it, balances it, chops in it, fills this in nice, comes lower, gets above. If you're patient, you'll see a lot of times something set up where you get to see this is traded through where it just looks like it's definitely a focal point, it's a strong point, but there's nothing really setting up here. It's not saying it's going to use this as support to really go long or really go short. Eventually it will show you that what it kind of wants to do off this. So if it comes up here, chops in, boom, breaks below it, comes up, doesn't totally reject it, just kind of chills around it. Once it breaks under, this will become a focal point, and you can use that. It's hard to explain, but I want to enter for a long, but I don't like this yet. So now here, this is where I may enter a fair value gap. I want to see it get above here, and I want to see how it reacts to this order block, or this fair value gap. Right now it traded to this little fair value gap, kind of balanced it here, came down, traded to it, didn't break the low. Target, I'm going to go long here, yep. So I'd like to see this pull back into here and create some kind of fair value gap. Stop here. See how it's not resisting this now? These are annoying. I don't really like how they do that shit. I want this like way the fuck over here. Try to get it right at my entry and stop. Like, I'm still new to TradingView. Not new, but I haven't really used these features. So now we're just probably gonna run these highs, so. I want to see it come back to this fair value gap. This could be a breakaway gap, I don't know. This could create another one too. Run to that volume balance. Run these highs. This is now a breaker. I am going to enter here more so. Maybe. I'm going to definitely move my stop if I do, but can you when you modify it, does it? Okay, cool. So we have equal highs here that we're running through. Volume balance. See how it acts in here. We just have a lot of equal highs. It's lunch hour is over. It's gonna be targeting those highs from lunch. I'd like to see it tag into here. We'll just keep that. Adjust the stop below that fair. As that volume balance too, it might want a little one. Doesn't really need to, but I'm gonna put the stop right there. Breaker, slightly. Breaker, possibly, potential breaker. Coming close to the limit, and it could get into this fair value gap as well. Right here. This is where I probably should have entered, would have liked to. Stop below this. Go below that low. Other one right below that fair value gap. It's a little kind of an aggressive stop, but here, stop. There's a fair value gap here too, but I'll risk that. Stop right at that. Targeting possibly these highs. This is futures. These highs, we've almost run these highs up here. High. Easier to see here. I'm gonna take partials too. I'll take a partial, see how it acts in here, up here. inside this 5-minute fair value gap. Did break through, but see, it goes through it. It's already showing that this fair value gap is not rejecting the way it did here. See how it's a bull fair value gap, sure, but here it came up rejected, then took the low. So I didn't enter here, didn't do anything. Now here it gets through it, so that's showing that it's not as willing to reject it like it did here. It's going through it here, comes below it, not rejecting it. It's not displacing from here either. It's not just broke through this and then ripped down to here and then came up and tested it again and showed more rejection. Had it broken through, displaced pretty heavily with big red candles down to here or something, then came up and still showed like it was rejecting it, I wouldn't have been so eager. But it's showing it respects it pretty well. You have kind of a breaker. I mean, it is a breaker, I guess. Fair value gap here too. So this green candle, fair value gap. Got a really the unicorn. Exit this. Yep. Trade. Sell. 550. Sell 550 of those. Right there. That volume imbalance. See, it's acting on it right now. Should, holy shit. Yeah, wow. I think it will go through it, but that's a typical reaction. So it needs to trade to it, rebalance it, and then if it wants liquidity up here, it'll do this, but it's still going to go for that. So it uses this, rebalances, then comes back to this now 5-minute fair value gap that's back bull again. You have a little fair value gap in here in this red candle inside this bullish fair value gap. So it kind of inverted this little red fair value gap inside the fair value gap, the bull fair value gap. And this is supporting. This is also a breaker. You have a lot of arrays here that'll, you can see how where you're standing, you know. If this is not supporting, all these things aren't holding like they are, I'd be exiting because I'm seeing signs that this isn't going to go, that this was where it needed to go, and now it wants to sell. Right now I don't see that yet. Seeing a lot of things supporting it. The lunch hour macro or whatever is going to be coming soon. Broke these highs. I could see it actually kind of taking this low a little bit right here, but I prefer to see it just run. And then the same way this rejected came down, you want to see this volume imbalance traded through and holding after it's rejected. Taking partials in case we don't. Let's get a projection on this, actually. Get a few of them. .5, so 2 There's 2 standard deviations. 2.5 right above those highs. I like that. I'm gonna mark some of these out and we'll pick from them. So right there. Again, mean threshold of this order block right at 3 about. Fair value gap, 15-minute fair value gap. Could go reject that. So that's that projection. See where these kind of have some confluence and kind of dial in on the targets. So 2.5, that's similar with the other one. 2, close to the buy side, but so 2.5 would take the 2.5 because if you're going to run the buy side, it's going to want to go to it's not just going to usually tap it. See up back at this volume imbalance. A real fulcrum point, low to high here. Okay, get there. Using this high, low, swing high. This is actually the lower low. 1.5 lines up. This looks like a nice target right here, around 407.50 to 52. Here's a nice target to run these highs. It's got some liquidity right here. Move that up to there. From that low, let's take X shit. Wait, okay, this one. All over with these. Low to this high. $1.52 standard is up top of the 15. 1.5 is right at the standard deviation. $3.5. Volume balance. Now we want to see this hold. Can come through it. We have a nice order block here too. Let's measure the mean threshold of this order block. Looks like it's about, just eyeballing it, it's probably about right. Maybe a little above the green line. Okay. I mean, it doesn't need to be super precise, so mean threshold right there. And I mean, if this is gonna be, if this is gonna hold price down, this order block, and reject it, you don't want to see it go above mean threshold. So I'm not right now anticipating it going above the 0.5 of that. And so digging into this order block, got a nice 15-minute fair value gap it can go to. Can dig in a little bit to it, but I mean, I'm long, so if it does want to go through that, great, but I'm not going to anticipate that and plan a trade around that, because that's something you're not going to know till it gets there. Right next, so let's see, let's mark that 0.5 out. We'll mark this out. C of the boom, red. Okay. And let's go see if any of these projections, actually, what the fuck is this? Oh, do I have it on still? I don't know. I have too many things here. Just gonna delete some of the fibs. Swing high to the low. Look at that. 0.5 of this swing high to this low. Where do you see some consolidation? Premium, above 0.5, discount. Above premium, consolidation. And it wouldn't be the greatest to see, but that wick that I said it might want to break under eventually, that's just under 0.5, so it could, while still respecting the breaker, we have run highs. Would like to see it run these highs. Runs these highs, definitely don't want to see that, but it could. I just would assume it's not gonna get all the way up here yet today, but I think we're gonna go. I think we're just gonna go run these highs, and then of this whole deal, where are we? On the way down. You don't know it yet if this isn't here, this bottom consolidation in here. It's right at the 0.5. So now we're on the way back up. Consolidation, right at the 0.5. It's not rejecting this volume imbalance, or this, volume imbalance. It's volume imbalance with a bullish fair value gap, bearish fair value gap here, so low. So this fair value gap was not traded through. Offered sell side, never came up in here and tagged it with any of these. So really, actually, yeah, this wick really, I mean, I was looking at the volume balance, also a fair value gap tags it, comes in. Now this fair value gap here, I guess I'll mark it up. I gotta delete some of these though after this. This fair value gap is now been supporting price. See, and actually remove this volume imbalance. No bodies. Bearish fair value gap, never tagged, rejected, came through it. Now this is offering support. It's inverting that fair value gap. No bodies closed. Wick, no body. Order block. All these arrays. Potential breaker, well, it was a breaker. Came to it, supported. Potential kind of a breaker, I guess you could say. Supported. There's fair value gap. Traded to. Breaker supported. Little fair value gap in here. Supported. So little red one inside that 5 minute we talked about. So supported. Trades above. Inverts this bearish fair value gap. Supports. Liquidity here. Liquidity here. I'll do it on the 5. Liquidity here. Here. Mean threshold of this bullish or bearish order block. And that 15-minute fair value gap right there. Those green lines. I will see how it handles this 15-minute fair value gap, but I mean, getting up there would be a great trade. Again, from this high, this swing high to this low, so daily high to this daily low, we are in discount. We're getting close to the 0.5, so we're getting close to equilibrium. So you could see it run to this 15-minute fair value gap here, reject it a little bit, and then you're going to expect to see some consolidation in this region. So we'll see how it, go to the 5. Is that this? Yeah. See, it tagged up and went down, went up to the equilibrium, sells above in premium, buys below 0.5 in discount. Tagged above, needed more to sell. Sold, took a low. Now we're going to get back above. They're selling here, buying some back, bringing it up, selling more here, buying it back here under these lows. They're creating these lows, creating people buying so that they can bring it up. And then now all these buyers stop losses. Once it goes under, they buy back their position. Sell, buy, sell, buy. They're engineering liquidity. Now they can buy in here. They have people to sell to up here. All these buyers here, or all these sellers here. Stop loss, stop loss, stop loss. So breaks above here. These people who sold here and it went down, their stop loss, when they bring it back up, they're buying. Their stop losses are hit, and Smart Money's has people to sell to. Above here, people sold. Once it goes above, Smart Money can sell. They're engineering liquidity. This is a good point. Once this breaks above this point, all those people who shorted here are having stop losses. They're buying here. Now they have people to, they can't just sell all here, it's going to go down too much. They now have people to sell to. Little fair value gap in here. Close to this high. Getting to points. it may not run these stops here. Could just run these. Might just run these stops and then come and get more orders down here. They've balanced this area pretty well. Sold, brought it up. They haven't done much work in here. And you now have all these sell stops in here to come in. Where's my... I was like, why aren't you showing the 5? Now these sell stops here to use. If it has a target to run to, there's no need to panic about where it's going to go. It will, if it's supporting your PD arrays, your areas of interest, that's showing you that it has places to be and people to see. People to take money from, essentially. So if you can align yourself with their prerogative, you don't gotta fight the man, just play with them. This low looks potentially ripe. I mean, a break above here without, it's not just running to it right now, so say it just breaks above there, this low looks appetizing. It's also an order block. Can break that low, come to this order block here, and still be bullish, but a lot of wicks. Volume imbalance too. There's moves where it's going to be stronger. This is not it's not a quick run to the liquidity. It's fairly quick, but in times like this, usually you wouldn't want to see this volume imbalance traded to again. Volume imbalance here too. But it can in times like, it's a sign of potential weakness, but it's not, oh my god, it shouldn't have traded to this volume balance, and it did. It's just, okay, keep that in mind. This volume imbalance is getting traded to now. Probably will come to this inverted fair value gap. Might just run this now. You can run this low, come to this order block. Ideally, you would want to see no bodies close through this. Also, don't want to see this little volume imbalance become a rejection point. So here's where you start monitoring and watching. Is this going to continue in my favor, or is this a sign I should be looking to get out a little more? Now, depending on how it breaks through here, it could break through here and then just come, that could just be where it wanted, and then come take this. Hasn't run sell side in a minute. Took some sell side here. Still supporting this though. This, you want to see this hold ideally. Inverted fair value gap. So you have the fair value gap, inverted fair value gap, bullish fair value gap now. Order block. Order block's like your last line of defense here. I mean, if it gets through all these, you have buy side. Volume imbalance here, volume imbalance here. You want to see these all support. And then this order block is really, if you're holding to here, you want to see this, at least the 0.5 of this hold. There's a volume imbalance in here too. So if we got to that volume imbalance, that would be, I'm probably getting out. That's too much for me. That's just too many things showing me that. Like, it's either, even if it does run to my points, it's going to put me through hell, and it's going to take a while. It's not going to be smooth. This ain't the smoothest move anyway, but I mean, today in this market, you're kind of, it's a fairly smooth day for how things have been. And we've run up a ton these past few days, so you're not, it has lower to go. So you're not necessarily expecting a strong rip up just because you hit a low. And I think we're going to, if you look at a 15, bigger time frame, I guess. I think there's going to be some chop in here. I don't think it's at a point where it's going to, you're kind of range trading. So you just open low, you're trading for targets within the range. This volume balance here is supporting so far. Good sign. Want to see that continue to hold. So all these things you're watching a lot at once, but you're using them all as clues. Little volume balance supporting so far here. Also that volume balance here. But right now it's right on that low of that volume balance. Obviously it can go go under it, but you want to really, the more you have holding in your favor, the better. Looking, so here's some consolidation. So let's see where, if this is 0.5 of something, where would that be? So just say about here is 0.5. So that would imply terminus is about up here. I'm not banking on that, but, and I mean consolidation, it's consolidating around here too. So I mean, if I'm kind of doing this, I usually put the 0.5 in the middle of the chop. You don't know necessarily, it chops, or it consolidates around 0.5 before it continues, so you don't know, but I would use that kind of range. So we're just chopping here. At 1 o'clock hour will be interesting. Do we have a macro fib? Let's go here. So here's the top of the day, I believe this is the day. Yes. No. No. Not. It's a last swing high. So we're actually right under, this isn't, the high of the day is here. So this is the high of the day. High, wick through. Accumulation, manipulates up, wicks through, takes buy stops, and distribution. So they get people going long, create a high, come back, run those highs. All those buyers that are trying to chase it higher are now going to be underwater. All these people who sold here stopped out, and then they take it lower. Accumulate it, accumulate shorts, manipulate it up, ride it out. So from this swing high, the last real true swing high, to here it's about 0.5. So, and we're seeing some consolidation right there. It's at least going to want to get over here a little more than this to even be in premium of that. Premium of, or the whole day, the high of the day to the low of the day, right there. At about 0.5 of this wick, consequent encroachment of that wick. Which is where one of those targets is. And this is not looking great. I mean, it's consolidating. You'd obviously like smooth runs where you don't have to think a ton. It kind of just goes. Those are nice. But my points, we haven't really broken any of them down yet, so also going to move my stop up for sure though. So you want to see it still continue to hold this, but this volume imbalance right here, low, volume imbalance, order block. Once it runs this low, it can take this low, and it's got that volume imbalance right there. So yeah, that could happen. And then it's also in the order block. It wouldn't disrespect this order block, but and it's gonna need to go higher. It's gonna need to take some lows. So this is a probable low. This low is getting taken. Even if it's gonna break down, I would expect it to at least run through these highs because it's creating a lot of sellers in here too that you can sell to. So which it is kind of setting up for the thesis of run to here or run up here. I don't know if it's going to go up to here, but you know, stop them out. Yeah, so yeah, should we take this wick? Close. Again, not gonna exit, but a sign to keep in mind. You don't want to see a body close through this. Wicks are fine. Could do it, you know, and come down to here, but if it does go to this volume balance or whatever, you'd want to see it just wick and get back real quick. Don't want to see that close. There's that volume balance there too, but again, that's under 0.5 of the order block, so that's not really it's not setting the cards in your favor per se. I mean, it'd be great to see it respected, but it's not. You'd rather not see that period. But see what I meant when I said, say you enter down here, and then you see how it reacts to this, at least you're in. Now, even if it does break down here, I'm in enough and I can put a break even, or a stop, and I'm still going to make money. I might get stopped out, but it's ran far enough where I can get, and it'll break enough arrays where I can still see, or it'll had to have broken enough points of reference for me that are saying it's not going to continue higher, that I can put my stop here. this low taken. I had this low, this order block, volume balance at the top of the order block. But like right now, if it keeps coming down, it's already closed through this. Not liking that. Did take a low at this volume imbalance and this order block, and now we're into it. So you don't want to see it break 0.5 of that, which it's coming to now. But my stop, I'll stop out and still have money. Where was this? Oh, so stopped out. Okay. Stopped out and still had money. Close that. See, it ran those highs, and then this area in here, I could have had the stop lower at break even, which is fine, yeah, but I'd prefer just to take a little bit of money, keep that, and then if I want to get in down here again, I can, because this is a strong area now. Breaker, fair value gap. Now depending on how, at least I can see how it holds here, and if I want to get in again, there's plenty of opportunities. Or there'll be, if it holds here, it's gonna run these highs, so I'll still have my RR here. Will be on the next trade will be just as good.